people who are in my beauty brand audience are heavily into TV, home entertaining, celebrity fan gossip, books, literature. We can also pull out their demographics, purchase habits, attitudes, etc. And it's all represented in this visualization here. So again, very useful for planners to understand what are the traits that really are underlying the audience that they've created. And we may want to compare that to another brand. So what makes beauty brand X different to beauty brand Y? And we can see all of the audiences that are relevant to beauty brand X and all of the audiences that are relevant to beauty brand Y. Some here that are relevant to both and some here that are relevant to neither. So again, pulling out this, beauty brand X actually had some high indexing segments around technology, business software, family, babies, pregnancy, etc. So again, very revealing underlying traits of audiences related to different brands or products. And to give you a sort of real-world example, a known FMCG, large FMCG, we plotted this and we found that we looked at the nappy buyers of their brand, so a branded nappy buyer versus a nappy buyer that bought supermarket own brand. And we were able to pull out, again, the different audiences that were relevant to both. And just for the purposes of this slide, I've simplified it, but revealing stuff. So now Aldi nappy buyers, very focused on their family and their baby and their toddler. Branded fashion buyers, or branded nappy buyers, sorry, interested in fashion. So again, that takes us in a new targeting direction, and it potentially takes us in a new creative direction. So hopefully you can see sort of some of the core questions that we're answering with data, real use of the platform, not some ethereal thing that doesn't exist, but real extraction of insights and applying those to client problems. I wanted to finish off with giving you one example of a US telco advertiser, and this was a pitch that was worked on in the US by Mindshare actually. And it just talks you through the process it went through on this particular client. So with this particular client, and I think with a lot of telcos, you've got very data-rich companies. They've got a lot of information on their users. So we actually started with their data at the core. We said, look, how can we add what we have within platform to what you've already got? And what can we do to enrich your view of your user? Can we uncover these hidden audiences within your existing data? And they said, yeah, sure, okay, well, I'll tell you what, the pitch is in 2 weeks, why don't we give you a data set, and you can come back in the pitch and tell us what else you know about our users. So the client gave us 114 records from their CRM list, and said, look, these are high-value customers. Tell us what else you know about. So we had to go away and do some rapid work. And again, using the platform to extract some data. So we used it in a few ways. One is pulling out the behaviors of these users, as we've shown you before in this presentation. The other one is pulling out some of their purchase habits here. So we were able to pull out some MasterCard data around their purchase habits. And then finally, we worked with a data partner called Bera, which starts to talk about the attitudes and maybe the brand love that different consumers have across different brands or products in the US. So again, disparate, different data sets brought together to try and build up a richer profile for this advertiser. So we started off with their high-value customers and we added behaviors. And we found that fast food, NASCAR, being cost-conscious, indexed quite highly, and obviously different users had different scores against those statements. We then overlaid this Bera data, which is about how much affinity or love these consumers have for the brand, and we found that they found it meaningful, unique, and they had a positive sentiment. Again, some different scores around how users interacted or users thought of the brand. And then finally, MasterCard data, consumer electronics, air travel. So we ended up with a very enriched view of this consumer. And what that meant was you've got these uncovered audiences for this advertiser. And previously they just knew that these guys were high-value customers based on their spend levels. But now we were able to give a little bit more information on the fact that they were cost-conscious, they went to fast food restaurants, they were into NASCAR. You might say, who isn't in the US? But Bera, when we overlaid that data, we found that these users were likely to be female, they likely to shop online, they were into healthy and active sports. And when we overlaid the MasterCard purchase data, we found that these guys are likely to be quite techie, use multi-screens and actually invest and spend more, even though they were still quite cost-conscious. So again, individuals that matter within the broader audience. And that's the key. And then finally, obviously, back to my favorite slide, the lookalike model. What did this mean when this client went to target these audience? It meant that they could reach 40% of their target audience with just 10% of the users. So spend 10% of the money they were spending and get 40% reach. That's 3.5 times more effective than they were doing in the old way. Now, the only other thing to say about this slide is, if you want more reach, you can have it. You just, slide up here. But obviously, your efficiency goes down. There's a trade-off between the two. So it's very customizable. If you want more reach, you can have it. If you want less reach, you can have it. It just depends on what you want to achieve with your targeting and how much efficiency gain you want to achieve. So really, that's it for today. I hope I haven't overwhelmed you with detail, but I really wanted to show you the application of this stuff. People talk about concepts, they talk about intention to use data, they talk about being data-driven and consumer-centric as a concept, but we never get into the nitty-gritty of how you actually do it. And that's what I wanted to show you today. So what we've built within Platform is something quite transformational. So a single view of the user. And a very enriched consumer view as well. So unrivaled consumer intelligence that we're bringing into that. The ability to build custom audiences for clients, really go deep and build something unique for a client. There's multiple routes to market. Obviously we can trade in the digital world using buying platforms to access all of the different digital and data or media assets. But also we can take this data and use it in the offline world as well. So take that inside out. And then finally, obviously, measure this with analytics and reporting to show clients the improvement that we're giving. Because without that, why the hell are we doing this? So that's all I want to talk to you today about. Thanks very much for listening, everybody. And I'll be around afterwards if anybody wants to ask any questions on this. Thanks.